Can everyone hear me like this, or all good in the back as well? Let me see if I can put this thing a little bit higher. Is this better? Yes. All right, then I'll do it this way. So, how are we? All good? It's been a long day, huh? Yeah, same for me. Somehow. I'll just wait a moment. All right. You know, a few years ago, maybe 4, 5, I ended up at a lot of parties, these theme parties. I think we've all been there, you know, where you get dressed up. It's a lot of fun. And I always ended up in dresses and a face full of makeup. I had my year where I was a slutty devil. It was a lot of fun. I think we've all had that phase. I see some people nodding, exactly. And then my friends would walk up to me and they'd ask, "Are you not..." I'll hold it like this. Ooh, that's a lot louder. And then they'd ask, "Are you not embarrassed? Are you not worried what people might say about you, what they think?" And I would look them straight in the eye, as confident as I was, because I was confident at the time. And I told them that I was just that confident in my masculinity, which obviously is a joke if we look back at that now, but at the time I really did believe it. And it was an odd statement to make, because if I think back of those days, when I looked in the mirror back then, I saw someone that, I mean, he was handsome some days, not so handsome other days, had his rough times, gained some kilos, lost some. I never quite cared. This is the issue with holding this. I never quite cared for that person that I saw in the mirror, but I was confident. A few years later, only about 2.5 years ago, really, all of that changed though. On that day, when I publicly came out, everything changed, yet nothing did, and it was a very odd and weird moment. By saying some very simple words, "Hi, I'm Melissa. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a woman." Some countries declared me illegal. Other places, people like me were being shut down because we had no right to exist. At the same time, it was an incredibly happy moment for me. At the same time, nothing had changed. Yes, I asked everyone to call me a woman now. Yes, I asked everyone to call me with she, her pronouns. And it made me so happy every time they did. Yet at the same time, I looked the same. Nothing had changed about me. I had the same body. I was the same person. What right did I have to ask anyone to call me a woman all of a sudden? What changed? What made me different? And the truth is, it's still a journey to figure that one out. It's been a long journey of self-discovery and trying to figure this out. But over time, I grew more confident in calling myself a woman and being okay with this. But there were moments where I wished there would have been maybe people who understood this weird and odd journey of changing genders, because it is an odd one. And I'll start with a fun point, because you might be wondering as well. I've been on hormones. I hope that that is obvious, because if not, I don't know why I'm wearing this bra. It is very obnoxious. So I hope that part is obvious. But they did a lot more to me, actually, than just change my body. They changed a lot for me mentally as well, emotionally. You know, I used to, back in the day, when I was happy, I smiled. When I was angry, you did not want to deal with me. And when I was sad, I cried. Now, when I'm sad, I cry. When I'm angry, I cry. When I'm happy, I cry. That changed. It's been lovely, really. I'm so in touch with my emotions. I've given up on the tears. They're just there. But also things changed that you might not really think of. I don't know why, but I have a hormonal cycle now, and I don't think it's particularly fair given that I don't get the pregnancy part. Um, for clarity, there's no bleeding down there. You don't have to worry about that part. I don't need to worry about that part, but at the same time, once a month, I get moody now as well. I have pain all over my body as well. That's the fun part, and I'm an emotional mess. So I get that because of my hormones. I also get other things. Did you know that women get incredibly vivid dreams? Yes, it's your hormones. I hope you knew. I figured it out. And there were many other things that I started figuring out about womanhood that many women actually didn't know. It was very interesting to go from one end to the other. But there's also parts that hormones don't change. If you hear my voice right now, that's not hormones. Once you've been on testosterone, it's over for you. I'm sorry, your voice has cracked, you've gone through puberty, it does not change. This is practiced. This is months of practicing, and I'm still not incredibly satisfied with it, but I'm trying. And I don't control it all the time. But that, for example, didn't change. A very crazy change that maybe people don't realize is when all these changes happened to me, I essentially went through a second puberty. Now, we've all been there the first time around. All of you should have at least gone through it once, I hope. I don't want to bring you back too much because I know it was traumatizing and it was terrible, and you know you were an anxious mess and you didn't know where you belonged in the world and what your purpose was, and oh my God, what are you going to do? And then your friends were there sometimes, and yeah, this is me right now. But what I also realized going through it a second time is how much the circumstances have changed for me. See, back then, you had a bunch of people around you that were equally anxious messes, equally didn't know where they stood. And the beauty of that is, and you might not have realized it, you know, remember those times when you texted your friend, oh my God, we're gonna be friends forever, and we're gonna grow old together, and we're gonna go do everything, and I love you so much. I mean, part of you did that because you really wanted to hear it back, because you needed that affirmation. And everyone around you did it because they needed that affirmation. Adults don't really do that. So, I mean, I have friends in this room that got text messages from me last year that you don't want to ever see, and I don't want to ever see again. But the truth is that it's very weird as an adult going through this, because there is no longer that understanding that essentially part of me is back to being 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. And it's something where I think the Erasmus generation can help a lot as well, because guess what? A lot of people, there's more and more trans people coming out around our age that could really use that understanding of people knowing that, well, they can't really, or I can't really always help it. To all the cis women in the room, and to all the people who identify as women who have had hormones, you probably remember how it was when you were 12 or 13 and you got through that first boost. Try controlling that one. It's interesting and it's a nice journey and I love it, but yes, sometimes I wish people knew. Over time, I grew more comfortable as a woman, and I was one of the very lucky ones, because not all trans people have this. I was one of the lucky ones that when I now go outside, no one doubts my identity. I kind of go undercover in this sense. People see me as a woman, which actually brought another very interesting point, because all of a sudden, you know, from one day to the other, everyone accepted me as a woman, and I was so happy. And then I realized how different I was suddenly treated, and it was confusing. I mean, I can tell you the moment where it all happened. Suddenly, everyone thought I was a 27-year-old woman, that I had lived as a woman from my birth, which is what I wanted, right? That's what I was aiming for. That's what I've been desperately striving for. Yet at the same time, I don't have those experiences. When I was young, I wasn't told to not go through a park at night. I wasn't told to be careful for strange people around. I was told none of that, which means that I do go through parks right now at like 2, 3 a.m. in the shortest skirts, and I really should stop doing it. But it happens. I didn't have that. in some ways I'm privileged, right? Because I wasn't told constantly that I couldn't achieve what I wanted to achieve. I also use that attitude now in my job and everywhere else, which is odd because people stare at me and expect the opposite. They expect me to beg, they expect me to plead, they expect me to crawl for them and not be secure in myself. And when I don't do that, when I act like, well, a 25-year-old man who has boobs now, they don't accept it because I don't fit in that stereotypical womanhood, how should I call it, characterization. Not at work, and even with friends, it's sometimes difficult because they expect a reaction that they would get from their fellow girlfriends, and I act a bit differently because I just have had a very different story connected to me. So it's been a very interesting journey. I can also say that sexism is on both sides, but it tends to show in very, very different ways. I felt discriminated 5 years ago, and now I do as well, just in a different way. So let me also make that a message to the men in the room. I've been there, and I recognize that you also get discriminated, for the record. I know. And it's interesting, and I'm very happy that I've had that experience, so I can share it with people. So when we have these arguments and discussions, I can go, well, I might have had the experience. I can kind of say a word or two about it. Most of all, and why I'm also giving this talk. 7. Ooh, look at that. Is because I do feel like that journey, it was an important one for me. I've never been happier. I love myself, which is a very nice thing to say. I'm not perfect, but I do. But there is so many moments where I wished people understood it a bit. And I've heard it from my fellow trans people as well, especially the ones that struggle a bit more with being accepted, being seen as whether it's a trans woman or a trans man, or my non-binary friends who have a completely different experience because they even fight to have their pronouns recognized as existing pronouns. Imagine that. We all wish we would have had people, allies, friends around who could have helped us. But I want to end this on a very nice note. You might have remembered the start of my talk. Back in the day, when I looked in the mirror, the guy I saw there lived his life, and he wasn't sad, but I didn't care about him. Now, when I look in the mirror, I smile at myself. I make funny poses. I'm gonna be real honest. I love staring at my body right now. It's amazing. Breasts, amazing things. The laughs confirm it, I know. I try different outfits on. I enjoy the experience because when I look in that mirror right now, when I see the man that now, well, the man I grew up as, turned into the woman I blossomed into, I see me. And I'm not perfect. I have many, many flaws. But I don't care because I finally, when I point at that mirror, the person pointing back is me. Thank you for listening. Okay, we can stop. Thank you. Also, as